everybody, welcome to the Chess Harbor. My name is Raf and today I want to show you another game from the Zilveren Toren tournament. I was playing white. I decided to play the first move was d4 and my opponent responded with e6, c4 and d5. The queen's gambit declined and I chose the move f3, knight to f3. My idea in this game is to try and play a kind of Catalan setup. So my opponent plays the move c6, so this initially looks like kind of Slav defense. If I want to transpose, I could play knight to c3 and we transpose into a kind of semi-Slav defense, but I don't want that. I want to play the Catalan. So I play the move g3. Now bishop to b4 check. That is definitely an option to play. So if the knight was already on f6 and I would play bishop to g2, then the move bishop to b4 check is a very normal way to continue, and after I play bishop to d2 to move the bishop back to e7. It's a very common line in the closed Catalan and actually has decent results for black. It has a nice reputation. My opponent decided to take on d2, and this is actually already a bit inaccurate because now I get to develop my knight for free, and his dark square bishop is of course his best piece because all of his dark squares are open. So his dark square bishop would be one of his best pieces and all my pawns are going to be on dark squares, so I'm very happy to trade it off. He plays knight to f6 now, I play bishop to g2, he plays knight to d7, play castles, and now he plays the move b5. This move was also a bit of a surprise. Lashing out that quickly usually is not that good. I have good options here. I can either take the pawn, which would leave me with quite a useful c-file to use, but his pawns on the queen side would also be a tad weak, especially because this diagonal has been weakened a bit. That could open up some tactical opportunities later. But I chose to play the move c5, just locking down the queen side and having this pawn kind of weak. So if at some point I could get a knight here, I could start targeting this pawn. If I can ever play e4, open up, force him to take the pawn, with the knight and the bishop there, I can put a lot of pressure on this backward c pawn. So that was an idea in the future. He plays queen to e7 and it's very clear that he wants to play for a quick e5. So to protect my pawn chain I play the move b4, so now if he plays I can take without dropping my c5 pawn. He does play e5 and I take, knight takes on e5, knight takes on e5, queen takes on e5, and here I had calculated that I could use his misplaced king a bit, so I played the move e4 with the idea that if he ever takes here, I could, if after this move I can just take the move because he can never capture, because then I would win his queen, and kind of using his uncastled king against him. So the quick e4 break was what I had calculated that it would be annoying for him to face. So I played a quick e4 and he did see this. He played castles next, and now I took on d5, still kind of with the same intention that I could try and use his placement of his queen against him. So I took on e5, he takes on e5 with the knight, and now I start hassling his queen a bit. So I played the move rook to e1, and he is very bold here. He plays the move queen to c3. I had expected him to go backwards, queen to either c7 or maybe go queen to g5 or queen to f6 maybe. But queen to c3 is definitely a bold move, aiming to go after this pawn, which I can protect with the move a3. Now he plays the move bishop to e6, and I still want to go after his queen, so I played the move e4, knight to e4, and this hits his queen and also hits the d6 square, so it's already a tremendous position for me. I have great activity with the knight. My pawn chain is actually very nicely protected, and this d6 pawn is super weak. If I can maybe play knight to d6, trade off his knight on d5, I'm going to have an extremely strong knight on d6, and I'd have a good knight versus bad bishop endgame if I can trade off the heavy pieces. So that was already an idea. But here my opponent plays a very bold move as well, and he plays the move queen to c4, and I'll give you a couple of seconds here to pause the video and find the winning move. My initial thought was to play the knight to d6 because now he gives me another free tempo while I wanted to put the knight on d6 anyway. But there is an even nicer move. I'll give you a couple of seconds to pause the video. And the move I played is the move bishop to f1. And this move, yeah, the queen is just trapped. The queen has nowhere to go. It cannot go to e2, it cannot go to d3. The dark squares are also prohibited, so he can go to c6, to c3, because my knight is covering it, my queen is covering that, my rook is covering that, so his queen is just trapped. And he tried to put some dirt in the water. He played the knight to c3, counterattacking my queen. So if I would take here with the knight, for example, of course he does get out, so I cannot do that, so I have to capture his queen. Now he takes my queen, but his knight attacks nothing, so I take his bishop, and now he sacrifices his knight, which is of course completely fine for me. I take back with the knight as well, and now he takes back my bishop. So in the end of all these exchanges, I'm just up a knight for a pawn. So the knight is I have this knight for the e6 pawn, and the e6 pawn is not even going to last because I'm a greedy guy and I can just take it immediately. Now he plays rook a to c8 to protect his c6 pawn, because if I'm allowed to take that as well, my pawn would just become very easy to promote. And here I thought for about 15 minutes, I thought like, hey, let's try to finish this off very cleanly, very clinically, give him as little counterplay as I possibly can. I was thinking about his rook maybe coming to the third rank with the move rook to f3, so I thought king to g2 must be good. In the end I decided let's just double the rooks. It's also just simple. So he does play rook to f3. I play my rook up to e3 just to block his rook from coming in. I thought he could double his rooks and then my knight is in trouble a bit. Then I'd have to move my knight. So maybe going like knight there or knight there, and the position could still be a little bit annoying. So then I have to trade, he takes back, I move the king up, then I would lose the pawn, but he would lose the c6 pawn. So yeah, it's kind of a complicated position. Let me maybe put it on the board so it's a bit more clear for you. I had calculated that here my position is of course still completely winning. I have an extra knight. The knight protects the king very nicely, and he can try to go after my pawns, but my pawn is just running up the board very quickly, so he can't really go for my pawns. But he takes on e3, so let's go back to this position. I block and he takes on e3. Of course I have to take back, and he plays king to f7, improving the king, and I'm improving the knight again. So the knight goes back to e4 with the idea to go into d6. Now it's even better because it comes with a fork, so he has to do something about that. He plays the rook to c7, and I put my knight where it belongs on d6. He plays the king out to g6. I play king to g2, h6, g4. I want to put these kingside pawns in front of his king so that the kingside pawns are blocked. His king's activity is also blocked. And I can just focus on putting the rook on the back rank and hunting the pawns. He plays rook to d7. I play h4, king to f6, king to g3. I want to improve my pieces, really limit his counterplay. He plays g6. I play king to f4, and now he plays g5 check. I play h takes on g5, h takes on g5, and king back to g3. So I did accomplish something. I traded off 2 extra pawns. The pawns on the king side are now locked. That's kind of what I wanted, because now his king's activity is a bit blocked. So the king is unable to move over to the queen side. That's kind of what was the goal here. So he plays a6, and now I decided it's time to invade with the rook. So I play rook to e8. The idea is just simply to go behind his pawns, either to a8 or c8, and his rook, it's impossible for his rook to defend both. So he decided to play rook to e7, as a kind of way to defend. Of course, I can even just go behind the pawns and gobble up even more pawns, but a simpler way for me to win would be to take on e7, king takes on e7, and knight to e4. And this pawn is going to be undefendable because his king cannot go back to f6. So he plays king to e6, I take on g5, he puts the king next to my knight, I play king to f4, and here he resigns because the position is hopelessly lost for black. I have an extra knight, I have an extra pawn, the knight can hop back at some point, the pawn is going to promote, or I can just sacrifice the pawn and use the knight to eat all of these pawns, and I actually do get a nice strategical win. So yeah, the game went very well out of the opening. This kind of position is like a closed Catalan. Usually in these kind of positions you're aiming to play a quick e4, but since my opponent played fast on the queen side here and decided to open up the center real quick with his king still stuck in the center, yeah, this e4 move was really nice. Just not having to prepare it with moves like queen e2, just immediately going for it because I always have the rook coming to the e-file here. So that was a nice temporary pawn sacrifice, which really forced his hand. So it was a very nice Catalan game, very fast win. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.